Hey guys, welcome to Miami and the launch of the brand new 2024 Fiat 500, or in American, 500e. Now this is one of the most iconic cars that Italy produces, and for the new model, they have actually gone all electric. So you can no longer get a 500 that is gas. In this video, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know if you're thinking about buying this city car. This is the top trim. It's called Inspired by Music and Inspired by Beauty. This one's beauty, this one's music, and we'll get to these in a second. But before we get to them, let's do a quick history of the 500 and really its place in history. And then we'll look at the previous generation, then we'll look at the new affordable electric 500, and then we'll end up back up here with the Inspired by car. So come on with me and check this out. This is the this is 62, but this came along in 1957. It's the original Fiat 500, and I think if you were asking Fiat, they would say Dolmavica or whatever that is. I call it charming. It's just really cute, really affordable. Back in the day, it got Italy back on its feet after the Second World War. It got people moving again, and incredibly tiny. As you know, if you follow TFL, we actually own one of these cars, and for big guys like me or Nathan or Andre, I guess in 57 people are just smaller, because if you look, it is a packaging marvel. I do sort of kind of fit, but I kind of feel like, you know, I'm wearing jeans that are 2 sizes too small, no matter how charming. However, what made this car so infamous or famous is the fact that it was affordable, and it was, Fiat would say, at least one of the first city cars. In other words, a car for people who live in the city, who need to get around without using public transportation. And if you're thinking, well, this is not the first city car, the Mini, of these classic Mini is, that came along in 59. So Fiat would say in 57, they were the first to invent the city car. Now, if you recall, about 10 years ago, Fiat came back to America with the 500, and then eventually they brought in this car, the 500e. And I was on that launch. It was in San Francisco, and what of course made this car unique was that it was all electric. I remember seeing this kind of front dimpled grille for more aerodynamics. According to Fiat, it came in, I think, like 3 colors. There was this kind of Tiffany blue, this really bright orange, and a black color. And back then, this was one of the first California compliance cars, and it really did have one major issue, and that was about 87 miles of range. In other words, it was probably good enough to get to work and back, but not much more than that. And before we go and look at the new one, let's kind of look at this one. So it had, of course, an electric motor, 111 horsepower, and under the hood there was no frunk. I'll show you if I can open it, but instead the electric motor with a battery that you know, gave it enough range to get to work and back and maybe stop at the dry cleaner. Inside it was actually quite comfortable, and you know, this car was only sold in California. In fact, I think it was only mainly leased in California. They had lease deals of like 99 bucks a month with 0 down. And I thought to myself back then, if I lived in California, there is no doubt that I would get one of these. But just like the gas version, you know, it had a lot of style. It was quick, about 8.5 seconds, 0 to 60, because of course, instant torque. Had a lot of interesting details. And actually, this one has a sunroof. But my issue with these cars, once again, was the same issue I had with the little tiny 500, and that is, you know, it's pretty tight. I can try to get in the back seat, I suppose, but it's not going to be good. But I'll do it just so you guys can see how much room there is. It's better than like a Porsche 911, but you know, mainly for kids or people, let's say, without legs. All right, that's a bad joke, sorry. Getting out of this was, oh God. was always an issue. But then again, for a city car, just like the original Cinquecento, it really wasn't about back seat room. It was more about utility, and it had, you know, quite a bit of utility in the back. You could fold down the seats, and you know, now living in Boulder, Colorado, I see them in town. People still buy these. You can actually get a used one anywhere from, like, you know, if it's not in great shape, $7,000 all the way up to like $15,000 for a pristine one. But here we are, looking at the brand new 2024, and I've got Amir.
Hey, Roman.
Hey, dude, how are you?
Good, buddy.
Amir is the head of Fiat North America. I'm going to clip this on you. And you are wearing the right t-shirt, my friend.
Yeah. Well, you know, the cool thing about this is
Yeah.
people always ask me about this shirt. We don't even make this shirt. I had to find this at Saks. So it's a really cool brand that sells well, and people love to be affiliated with it.
All right, so tell me, what have you guys done to go from that car to this car? Now, this car has been in Europe for a couple of years.
Yep.
And you're finally bringing it to America. So tell me how you've kind of made it more usable.
Yeah, we've done everything. So that vehicle, like you said, the previous generation car that was actually introduced in 2007 as a second generation 500 became electric in 15-ish and went through 19. On the new car, it's the new Stella City platform that had a different name before that. Obviously, it was pre-merger, but it's been designed from the ground up to be electric. So rather than only putting a battery in the back of the vehicle like the old car had, this has a full-length battery. It's 42 kilowatt hour. It's got the PEB and the EDM in the front. Unfortunately, no frunk because of that. But it's widened, it's lengthened, it's a little bit taller. The seating position's a little bit lower. We've optimized the interior space because the great thing about EVs is they produce a really low center of gravity. So it frees us a little bit more affordability to make the car even more comfortable on the inside.
And you've increased the range, which is huge, right?
Absolutely.
So you've gone from about
87-ish.
Yeah, to 149 to up to 167 in
162,
Sherpa mode.
right.
All right, what are the three modes actually?
Yeah, so there's normal driving mode, which
Which
basically
is
drives like an
coasts.
ice mode. Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of coasts for
Yep.
those that don't like one pedal driving like my wife. Then there's range mode, which basically reintroduces a stronger regen so you can one pedal drive like a traditional EV. And then there's Sherpa mode that initially has a speed limit of 50 miles an hour. And then if you push past the detent, you can go further. But what it does is it scales back some of the high power draw features like AC and things of that nature when you really need to get home.
And we're looking at 38 kilowatt hours usable in the 42 kilowatt hour battery. Charging speeds are up to 85 kilowatts. Your guys are quoting 0 to 80 in about 35 minutes on level 3 charging. If it's level 2, then it's 6 hours
Yep.
to completely
On
charge
11
it.
kilowatt,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. And how about pricing? How much is the new one going to cost? It's going to be less than that one, right?
Yeah, so when we went out of production in that car in 2019, and that one's an 18, it was right around $32,995. This vehicle is going to come in at $32,500 before destination, and then the beautiful vehicles that you have on stage behind you
I love that rose
with
gold.
the vegan leather.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that rose gold color is
Yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, J-Lo actually asked for that car to be in her music video because it matched the color of her beauty line, J-Lo Beauty. It's just a stunning color. We're seeing it more prevalent now. I saw Maseratis using that color, which makes sense because we actually build this vehicle alongside some Maseratis in Turin. And then the inspired by music car with the JBL audio system is just awesome too.
Now you're coming out with the red,
Yep.
but they're not all red, right?
No, so
Some are red, but some have red accents but are different colors.
yeah, so the red model, the 500e red, comes with the red logo that you're zooming into on the back, the red mirror caps. On the front, it's got the red mustache, the red logo, and then the IP's got all red. But overall, the vehicle comes in 3 colors for the red. It's red by red, tuxedo black, and then glacier white.
Okay, and I take it you're going to focus on urban, big cities to sell this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know this vehicle is going to be basically the best commuter car in the world. We've seen it in Europe. It's the best-selling city EV in Europe, basically. So we're going to be hyper-focused on geographical markets at launch, big city metros, metropolises where this car makes sense as a commuter, or in some cases, we've seen and heard from a lot of people that may have went down a car during COVID because they went to a hybrid working environment and they're looking to add back a car into their garage, if you will, and they don't want something big, so they want to complement their large SUV with something that makes sense to commute, and we're looking to do that as well.
Now, previously I was talking about the lease deals on that. I think they were like $99 in California when it was, the California compliance era. I take it this is also going to be leased because obviously that way you get your $7,500 federal tax credit. Have you come up with the lease prices yet?
We haven't announced lease
Yeah.
pricing yet. We will do news shortly because the vehicle will be hitting dealers very soon. We've had a little bit of setback because of the unfortunate catastrophe that happened in Baltimore, and our cars were going to go into the Port of Baltimore. But with that said, we do expect a high penetration of lease to some degree. But at the same time, at $32,500, we feel like it's a very good price to have individuals either buy the car outright, that we see a lot of in Texas and other states, or lease a vehicle like you might see in Florida.
Now in Europe, you can get this as a Cabrio.
Yeah.
Are you guys thinking about bringing a Cabrio in eventually? Is that something that you're looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to study everything. As we touched on earlier, given that we're the largest brand within the Stellantis constellation, we've got a massive toolkit to play with, especially with this vehicle as well, with
That's
Cabrio
crazy.
and some
So
others.
Fiat sells more cars than Jeep, than Ram, than all the other
Yeah,
brands.
it's kind of hard to believe. We sold 1.35 million cars globally, and
Wow.
we're only one of 3 OEM brands that actually sells more cars outside of its home market than we do domestically.
Hey, Ian, do you think you can jump in the back seat and we'll jump in the front? Can you get in there? I'll help you here.
Right up here, just pull that. Got a memory,
Yeah.
and I'll get on the other side.
Yeah, get on the other side, would you? I won't put the seat back in, don't worry. All right, I know it's tight. You good?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm kind of in limousine seating mode here, so even now, I don't know if you got room behind me, but I've got plenty of knee space.
Yeah, so let's look at this. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto.
Yep.
Wireless charging.
Yep.
What's some of the other technologies that you've included?
It's also got Alexa built in. We've got user profiles, so if you have multiple Stellantis vehicles, for instance, you can save some of your presets through your connected solution there. Beyond that, obviously, we've got Sirius XM radio with repeat. The navigation's powered by TomTom. It's got dynamic range mapping. So if you're driving from here to Fort Lauderdale, which you can do, by the way, 3x, you can do that 3 times round trip in this vehicle, you can actually schedule in what you want your end destination charging status to be. So if I say, hey, I want to reach Fort Lauderdale with 80% battery, I could put that into the navigation system, and it'll give me the right charger on the way and how long I'll need to charge for.
I see you've got real buttons, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everything's in the screen. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I can't take any credit for that because this is before my time, but having worked on the Uconnect team in the past, we understand how important redundant controls are for people. So absolutely, we've added that. And even on the door, we've added redundant controls even for the door opening, given that we have the e-latch system.
Yeah.
So if you look at the bottom in red, we've got it clearly marked that you have a mechanical release for the door handle right here.
Yeah.
So we've made this car as usable for all types of age and demographic as possible.
And I didn't believe I'd be saying that, but I love the fact that you have real vent controls and they're not hidden in the screen somewhere. Uconnect 5, I think it's one of my favorites. It really is relatively intuitive in terms of how you use it. Does this have over-the-air updates?
It does. It will have over-the-air updates for apps and firmware for the radio. It also has automatic climate control standard on all price classes, so we're really excited about that. We've added it. I mean, we've thrown as much content into this vehicle as we can because we know that in a few years' time, technology will progress, and we want to be out as far ahead of the curve as we possibly can.
Yeah, it feels very premium for what is in basic a city car, right?
Yep.
In terms of chargers, do you provide a charger with it, or what else do you get when you buy it? Or
Yeah,
lease it?
so when you buy the vehicle, you'll be able to choose if you want an L2 charger for your home or if you want $600 in free-to-move charging credits through our partner brand, Free2Move, which is going to aggregate through a lot of different suppliers for the charging space. So you'll get either one of those.
Okay, in the presentation you were saying it still has CCS,
Yes,
which is kind of the standard right now.
correct.
And Stellantis is one of the car manufacturers that's working on its own EV charging network. So no NACS, no North American, no Tesla standard, basically.
Yeah, so we're working with 6 other major automakers with the IONNA charging network, which was just announced with a new CEO recently. And that's going to be Mercedes, BMW, Hyundai, Kia, and others. And because of that, what we've decided now that SAE has established a new standard for what was initially called the NACS standard, we will migrate to a new port. We haven't announced timing of that yet, but we'll do that at a product action.
So you've been driving this now.
Yes.
You
I
got
have
one
one.
early.
Yep.
What's your favorite thing about it?
Honestly, so I have my daily car, if you will, that the company gave me, and I'm very grateful for, is a Grand Wagoneer.
Yeah.
Which is super comfortable and it's fantastic. And we've got a daughter that's turning 1 in about 14 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But the thing that I love most about this, especially being a previous 500 Abarth owner, is when you get from a big car back into a small car, you forget how fun a small car is. And given how low the center of gravity is for this car, it's just fun to drive. And I know you haven't driven the car yet, Roman. You're about to go out and do your laps.
Yep.
So I think you're going to feel that in terms of maneuverability to get around traffic, to get, even just a right-hand turn you're going to make to get in this alley. Doing that in a large vehicle sometimes becomes taxing and it becomes stressful. You just don't have a lot of stress when you drive this car. And that's the thing I love most about it.
No, I'm with you. I love tiny cars. Obviously, we have a Cinquecento. We also had the previous generation not 500, sorry, Mini SE, which is the electric one, and that also kind of suffered from range anxiety. It had only 104 miles of range. So I think the added 50 miles of range will certainly help. It's still, we bought that actually in Albuquerque and then road tripped it to Colorado. And the problem there was, you drive it for an hour, you charge it for an hour, give or take, right? And so when you start road tripping these cars, 50 extra miles helps, but still, you probably want something with a little bit more battery.
Yeah, and that's why we're starting this vehicle off in the cities, as we've talked about. Because, again, with my 500 Abarth, it was a car that I added to my garage, and I use it to commute to and from work. I had a larger vehicle that I used for road trips, so I never once took a road trip it. And I've driven the corridor between Detroit and Chicago numerous times, and you don't typically see small cars along that route, just because it's not that practical of a route to do in a small car, regardless of propulsion. But in any way, shape, or form, we're happy that we're all helping to make the infrastructure in this country better and get it ready for true electrification. And owning a 500 is going to be one part of that, because you get an L2 charger if you'd like.
Well, let's go look at the more expensive ones, because those have ADAS, right? So those have a little bit more road trip capability if you like your automated driving systems.
Yeah, road trip or even traffic. When you're stuck on the I-10 or something like that in California, having adaptive cruise control with stop and go and lane keep assist really helps.
Good job, Ian. Ian got in the back of this one. Let me show him how much room is back here. So it's actually a bit deeper. Yeah. And the seats fold, I take it?
Yep.
So you have a little bit more room. Yeah, it's okay.
And there's a little storage compartment underneath it. This car probably has the L1 box. Again, our vehicles will not have that.
Yeah. And
you've got your
I want to say from the presentation, 36 hours on the wall charger.
That's 0 to 100, but there's a guy on my team that lives in Atlanta, and he's got a cool brownstone in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have access to a garage. So he actually uses the L1, runs an extension cord out of his kitchen, and he's able to recover the amount of driving he did on a daily basis just by using the 110.
That's
so
hilarious.
There's a lot of use cases for it.
You need a long extension cord, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right. So the biggest difference, besides obviously these being a little bit more premium, right? Different interiors. You said vegan, is that right?
Yeah, vegan leather.
Yeah, is that these have more of the typical ADAS that you would see on higher level cars. So we're talking about lane centering, adaptive cruise control.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that if you come over here, Ian, the front fascia has a unique radar system that the other vehicle does not have. This is actually flush, and this is where we actually hide the radar. And then the camera up top is actually mounted above the center mirror, and that's where we have the traffic sign recognition. So when you turn on cruise control, for instance, it'll actually preset the speed to the speed limit, and let's say the speed limit changes while you're driving, you'll actually get a prompt in the cluster to say, new speed limit detected, do you want to accept it? And if you hit OK, it moves it automatically up or down to what the speed limit is.
All right, let's look at the inside.
Sure.
It's much more fashion forward. I've been watching a lot of Project Runway, so you'll have to forgive me. So you've got Fiat boldly emblazoned in the seats.
Yep.
What else is different on the inside here?
So you also notice that we have a woven leather type material here on the IP, unlike the painted one on the other vehicle. So that's really cool. What you don't see, because this car's not powered on, this vehicle obviously has heated seats as well.
Oh, nice.
Which is really nice to have in a vehicle, especially as we're
Smells
coming out
good.
of the winter season. It does. I mean, these seats are great. I love the high contrast of the black carpeting with the light colored seat.
Steering wheel's beautiful too.
Two-tone
right?
steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's just it's a beautiful place to be, if I'm being honest with you. And the rear seats are too.
And then let's look at the other one, so you can kind of compare and contrast them.
Yep.
And
So
this
it's practically going to be a very similar interior. Obviously, since this car is inspired by music, it's going to come with a 7-speaker JBL audio system. So if you're able to get a shot of the A pillar on the side, you'll see that it has the JBL branding on it. Car's not powered, otherwise you would see the virtual venues, which is really cool. So you can actually set the interior of this vehicle to sound like 4 different studio chambers, basically. And we went to Italy with Maestro Andrea Bocelli and actually tuned the car to sound like his living room, his studio, famous theaters, and an open auditorium.
Hopefully not his bathroom.
Oh my God. This is why I love TFL.
Yeah, exactly. So the car actually plays music, right? When you get above 20 miles an hour?
Yeah,
Can you turn that off, or?
No, you can't turn it off.
Okay.
So, obviously the vehicle has AVAS, which is pedestrian sound, as all EVs. So it has to emit a certain consistent frequency sound. And that is preset by NHTSA from 0 to 20 miles an hour. So we kind of celebrate you switching over from low speed to high speed at 20 miles an hour by playing a short melody for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it also does it when you charge it, right? So
it will not play while you're charging.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
And in terms of kind of if somebody wants one of these availability, you said they're being unloaded from the boats as we speak.
So the 500e Red is being unloaded right now from the vessels in Wilmington and Davisville. We just started building the Inspired by Musics, and we just unveiled them in early March. We just started building them last Monday. So we're going to start building those, get them ready to get on a train and go to the Savona port in Italy. They'll start their 2-week trek over to the US, and we'll find the right port. We just heard some hopefully favorable news that a strike's ended in Halifax, and we might be able to get some cars through Canada and make that a little bit quicker.
So next month or two.
Yeah, call it, hopefully before June, we're hoping to have some cars.
And I take it you're selling them through like Fiat dealers that are also part of, Stellantis's dealer network. So, Maserati stores are incorporated in some of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or you could even buy the car online. So if you go to fiatlivestore.com, what we've done is actually we worked really closely with our dealer council and with our dealers. You can actually buy a car through your dealer through Fiat Live Store. They upload the paperwork, so you don't even have to go in. So we call it zero emission shopping if you'd like.
Competing with Tesla.
We want to make sure that we compete in the sense of we've got great experiences, whether you drive the car or you're buying the car. We want the ownership experience and shopping experience of a Fiat to be as pleasurable as driving and owning one.
So 32.5.
32.5.
Destination.
15.95.
So you're looking at 34.
Yeah, 34.95.
All in, okay.
Yep.
And then hopefully, if you lease
36 for this car with 15.95 as well.
And if you lease it, hopefully you'll get that 7,500 tax credit. In Colorado, we actually get 5,000 as well.
Yeah, and that's an important distinction, right? I mean, we're going to add some shopping tools to our website in the near future because depending on where you live, you probably have state or even county level incentives as well. Even the charger, for instance, when you get the charger, you may get a credit. I live in Detroit. DTE gives you $500 back towards the installation of a charger. So there's a lot of ways that make, a lot of incentives, I should say, to owning an EV to make it a little bit more palatable for people.
Let me show you my favorite part. I love this. This is such a cool little touch. Are these little side markers with the little Italian flag embedded in there?
Yeah, so I talked about this earlier. So obviously in the US, we couldn't make this a side marker because it had to be in a certain location. So we've got the amber reflectors on the fascia. So rather than losing this really cool detail element, we made the American car more Italian than the Italian car. So we've added the iconic Italian tricolore on the side. And actually around back, we've added some more Easter eggs that the European car does not even have. So the most famous landmark in Torino is what's called the Mole Antoniella. So you'll see that kind of enhanced across the chrome effect inside the taillight on the driver's side.
Cool.
And on the passenger side, you've got another made in Torino landmark if you see on that right side.
And then for all of you guys who are interested in how quick it is, about 0 to 60 about 8.5 seconds.
Yeah, and the thing that's important though is we understand this is a city car. You're really not doing 0 to 60 drags. As much as I love the Dodge brand, it's not really a Hellcat. But the 0 to 30 time is 3.1 seconds, which is right up there with the best of the EVs in its segment.
And then top speed 94 miles an hour.
Correct. Yep.
And 118 horsepower.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I got those numbers right. And let's finish up with talking about tires, because that's one of the options. So these are a little bit bigger, right? I think those came standard with 16s?
I think 15s actually. 15s. And these are 17s.
Okay, that's
and
great.
There's only 2 options in tire on both models of the vehicle. So whether it's Inspired by series of vehicles or the red, there's only 2 options you can pick from. The first option is what type of tire do you want? Do you want an all season or a summer? This is on the all season, which is a Pirelli. The summer is a Goodyear. And then the other option, as we alluded to, is going to be charging. Do you want the L2 charger or do you want the charging credits if you live in an apartment, for instance?
Well, there you have it, guys. Your first look. Hopefully you're
until you buy one and start testing it. Yeah.
Comprehensive look. We might actually, like I say, I love these little guys.
Yeah.
Look at the new Fiat 500e. We will be doing a driving review, and that's coming, I think, on the 10th of this month. So stay tuned for that. Remember, if you want more TFL, just go to alltfl.com. Amir, I really thank you very much. Yeah, it was really fun. It's Miami. It's perfect.
Go drive.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next time. Ciao.